Hi girls, today is October 24th, 2008, and I'm going to be reading Chapter 2 of Fairy Dust and the Quest for the Egg. And if you remember at the end of the last chapter, it told the story of how the baby's lap turned into a fairy named Prilla, and it said that she fell onto the ground. And here is a picture of Prilla on the ground and some other fairies talking to her, helping her. And let's read Chapter 2. Mother Dove knew the instant Prilla arrived. "The new fairies come," she told Beck excitedly. "Isn't that wonderful?" "It is," Beck said, hoping the newcomer was an animal talent fairy. In the courtyard, a crowd gathered around Prilla. A message talent fairy flew off to tell the queen. Terence, a fairy dust talent sparrow man, sprinkled a level teacup of fairy dust on Prilla. Not a particle more than a cup, nor a particle less, mind you. It was Prilla's first daily allotment. As soon as the dust touched her, a tingly feeling spread over her, and her glow began. Fairies glow lemon yellow, edged with gold. She sat up. Her bent wings sprang back, and her wings started to flutter. Her mind cleared. She was a fairy. A never fairy. She was so lucky. The other fairies waited, feeling too solemn even to smile at the new arrival. Every fairy hoped against hope for a new talent member. They expected her to announce her talent. The first act of every new fairy was to make the announcement. But Prilla flew over the courtyard, her brown hair streaming out behind her. Flying was marvelous. She turned an aerial cartwheel. And she had magical powers, didn't she? She flew to the home tree and shook a little fairy dust off her hand and onto a leaf. She squinted hard at the leaf, and it flickered out of sight. She blinked, and there it was again. The fairies on the ground stared up at her. Not one of them had ever seen a new arrival behave as Prilla was behaving. She landed in their midst, between Terence and a caterpillar herder. They drew back. "Greetings," she said. "I'm so glad to be a fairy. Thank you for having me." Several fairies raised their eyebrows. Did this newcomer think they'd picked her? Prilla saw their expressions and faltered. I'll try to be a good fairy." A fairy said to her, "My, she's freckled." Terence said, "Pleasantly plump, though." These were the sorts of things one said at an arrival, ordinarily after the new fairy had announced their talent. "I swear they look younger every year," the caterpillar herder said. A few fairies nodded. "Prilla wouldn't look young to you. She'd look grown up, just about 5 inches tall, same as any other fairy, and perfectly proportioned." Fairies, however, knew that Prilla was a youngster, because her nose and the lower halves of her wings hadn't yet reached their full growth. A grown-up clumsy wouldn't see Prilla at all. He might see the air shimmer. He might smell cinnamon. He might hear leaves rustle, but he'd have no idea he was in the presence of a fairy. Adult clumsies can't see or hear never fairies, although they can feel them. If a fairy pinches a grown-up clumsy, the clumsy will slap the spot, thinking he's been bitten by a mosquito. Tinker Bell landed in the courtyard. When she'd seen Prilla flash by her workshop window, she had dropped her leaky ladle and come. She wanted to be on the spot if the new fairy turned out to have a talent for repairing pots and pans. Terence smiled his most charming smile at Tink. He admired her enormously. He liked her bounce when she landed. He liked the arch of her eyebrows, the curl to her ponytail, and her bangs, which were the perfect length, whatever length they were. He even liked her scowl, which was both fierce and pert. Tink ignored the smile. Her heart had been broken once, and she wasn't going to endanger it again. "Welcome to Fairy Haven," she told Prilla. "What's your name, child?" "Prilla." Prilla held out her hand to shake. Tink hesitated, then shook. Fairies didn't usually shake hands. "I'm Tinker Bell." Prilla said, "Pleased to meet you, Miss Bell." The bystanders exchanged glances. Tink frowned. Prilla blushed. She knew she said something wrong, but she had no idea what. It was this. Never fairies called each other by their names. Just their names, no Miss or Mistering, and only Clumsies said pleased to meet you. Never fairies said, I look forward to flying with you, or for short, fly with you. Call me Tink. What's your talent, Prilla? Tink waited, barely breathing. Prilla stopped seeing and hearing what was around her. Instead, she heard the strains of a waltz and clumsy voices. She was back on the mainland, standing on the shoulder of a clumsy girl who was riding a carousel horse. The girl felt Prilla's wings beat against her neck and reached up to brush away what she thought was an insect. Prilla flew around to face the child, who turned slack-jawed with astonishment. What fun! Prilla executed a perfect split and a double somersault. Tink felt ignored. Prilla, what's your talent? Prilla's grin faded. Pardon me, what did you say? Tink tugged on her bangs. Nobody says pardon me, I said. She spoke louder. What is your talent? Talent? Uh-oh, Terrence said. A wing washer said, Is she a giggle shy of a full laugh? This happened sometimes. A piece of laugh would crack off on its way to the island, and the fairy would arrive incomplete. Some incompletes had no ear tips, or they'd glow only half their bodies. Some looked complete, but they had a speech problem, or they thought the word chicken rhymed with mattress. In Prilla's case, the opposite was true. When Sarah Cordell laughed her first laugh, some of Sarah stuck to it and went into Prilla. Prilla was fully a fairy, but she was more as well. Excuse me, what's a talent? Prilla asked. The other fairies fluttered their wings appalled. Nobody says excuse me either, Tink said. A talent is a special ability. All of us have one. We know what our talent is from the moment we arrive. Prilla couldn't think of a single thing she was good at. She blinked back tears. I don't think I have a talent. Okay, that's the end of chapter 2, and I will read you chapter 3 of your book next time. I hope you girls have a good night and sweet dreams. I love you very much, and I miss you so, so much. Bye-bye.